and welcome to part 2. Alright, I found my hand weight. The guitar is 5.64 pounds. Wow, that's light. Oh, and this was right where I left it, hanging on the tool wall, though I never checked before. It only dawned on me much later. So here we are on bench 1. And because we have the issue of such a high action problem, the first thing that needs to be fixed to get into the zone is going to be the action here before the nut. Because if you go after the nut first and you take that down, by the time you get to the action, that could be end up too low. So this has to be done first. To do that, of course, we have to loosen all the strings and take the neck off. And we're going to find out what that's like. I'm just going to check all these tuners here to see that they all have the same a little bit amount of slack in them. Some could be worse than others. Oh, that one's actually the best one so far. Oh. So the G and the high E string have about a 1/16 of an inch slack rotationally. Alright, so we do have to loosen all the strings first. Oh, and it came with 8 to 41s because I checked. So if we get those loosened up nicely, I want to try to use these strings to do as much work with the nut as possible. Now I have in stock only 3 Fender-esque nuts left. They're all Tusk. 2 of them are the same. Very tiny, probably not going to make it. And I have one that is a possibility. Once I've got that off, I also want to knock that nut out so that I can test this, and if it doesn't work, first I have to know that it's good enough, and then if it doesn't work, then I got to go order one. I still have some leftover pieces of shims, 2.42 millimeters, 2.26 millimeters. Now these are flat. They were supposed to be tapered, like 0.25 and 0.5, but they didn't come that way. So in case that is in the neck pocket too far down, I might be able to do something with that if necessary. Okay, now I also suspect that these are going to be biting into the wood. Oh, I didn't do one thing. I didn't put the restraining cable on those strings to kind of hold them there. I'm going to loosen all these first. And of course I'm probably going to have to go get my drill and drill out these holes because it really feels like it's biting in the body. Definitely biting in the body. Definitely biting in the body. Okay. Put those aside for the moment. We've got some dirty stuff to clean up. Okay, let's see what's in there. Alright, no shim, that's interesting, and the pocket is fairly okay. Now we'll see how level and all that stuff it is. Five. That 0.25 just might end up being part of the solution. Alright, that'll be too thick, but 2.5 is a possibility. Alright, 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 alright. Alright, I gotta go get a drill bit for this. So drilling backwards in a very soft body takes off less material and makes them fit perfectly tight, which is what you want, which will avoid neck movement later. Okay, we don't need that anymore. Let me clean up in a sec. Okay, I'm going to check out the pocket. Got my little levels from Temu. So up here on the top, we've got them, and they're in the center. So I'm just going to roll this across and see if it stays in the center. That way. And then this way. Am I off a little bit? No. So it might be a little bit higher on this corner here, but I guess it depends. See right there, it's pretty good. It's in not completely centered, but pretty good. Wow. Yeah, overall, the pocket is very good. I think I might have to just give it a little swipe. Some of the paint might be just knocking it off a tad. But yeah, my levels are levels. And just have to put pressure on this corner here with my sponges underneath the edges to make these two exactly where they should be. Wow. So that is really good. Alright, I'm surprised that it's so good. Keep those handy, because I think I'm just going to hit that with a little bit of my sandpaper tool to take off some of that poly that's in there. I checked with this, and it was hard to tell because of the grooves. Now my shim is rounded, and I've got elongations, but alright, a little bit better that way, face down. But yes, all the holes past the screws except for this one, which is covering it a tiny little bit. So we're going to figure that out, and we'll give this a try. Yeah, I just need to get it off to the side a little bit like that. That's where the screw's going to come. Ah! Perfect. That'll do it. Alright. I got to make sure that there's no tips on there. So I'm going to do that with my sanding stuff. I have to get that out. The drill bit is 1364, it's not 1362. Here's my homemade tools. I'm just going to do this on the table here because I'm going to vacuum it again anyway. Okay, that is smooth. The back of this neck needs something. On those holes there. Hee ho ho and all that stuff. Give me a sec, I'm going to vacuum. Okay, so now I'm going to make a little bit more dust. We're going to go with 80. Uh-oh, somebody's calling me. It could be a little high in the middle. Okay, so I got a little ahead of you there, and I didn't put you through the sanding with the 80 grit, which is worn down, so it's probably a little bit less than an 80 grit now. And it did take off some of the poly that's right in the middle. So there's less red, and now you can see more white, which is the wood. That is smooth. So we went face down this way. This is a really nice white pickguard. Amazingly enough, 3-ply, and it's white. And it overhangs the pocket just a little bit there. I don't know if it's interfering or not. I suspect it could be. I think it's holding my neck a little bit forward. And if I take this off to do this, the holes that are currently drilled in there could move by the offset of this overhang, because it's obvious that the holes are going straight through and the screws are going in when it's got that on there. Which is moving it that way. Let me check. It needs to be where it is. So I can't take the overhang off of that. Got to leave the neck in that position. Alright. I'm thinking of changing the whole pick guard anyway. So as long as everything stays in place with the screw holes, that should be okay. Alright. There's chips all over the bottom of this thing. Smooth. We'll just take some of that off of there. There we go, no biting. if I need more bite, I can always take that plastic spacer off. Alright. So that raised the fretboard quite a bit. That means I'm going to have to raise these saddles a little bit. It's easier to come down than it is going up under pressure. And then sometimes these screws are a little bit balky. And then you need the one with the end that you can turn. Okay, I'm going to put this up to about where it should normally be so that it doesn't grab your hand. And I can always change the length of these in the end, depending on where I'm going to need them. Now you see the end one here was really low, and on the middle ones, the screws, these are, yeah, they're 10 millimeters. They're almost at the top of the saddles. Why can't I find that one? Oh, there it is. Get the string in the saddle properly. It's not come out of there. That one's out. Come on. You gotta be careful with these 8s. They break so easy. Oh, alright. I'm just going to loosen that one more. To get it over that screw. I'm just going to screw it down and then lift it into the position. There we go. Try to get both sides level with the screws on both sides of the saddle. Alright, let's put those in there. Let's get back to tuning. I'm going to put you on pause while all of this takes place. Whoops. Well, dang it all, if that isn't going to work. Wow. I'm in the ballpark. I'm already in the ballpark. Okay. There's 1, 2, 3. And there's 4. So I'm already in the ballpark. Just by eyeballing everything. Whoa. That was cool. I gave the truss rod a touch. So that's straightened up. Damn. Look at that. Look at how that came in there nicely. Just with that 0.25 shim underneath the whole neck pocket. So it was too deep in the pocket. It was too deep in the pocket. That's why there was so much space. And these would have had to have been sitting on the plate again. And just putting a cantilever shim in there wouldn't have done it. It needs to be like this first, and then maybe a tiny little bit afterwards. But no, this is where it needs to be to start with the nut part. So that's very good. That part worked really good. That's surprising enough. Surprising enough. Woo! I also noticed while I was tuning here, one of these string trees, the one on the high strings, that's going to be hard to see. Let me turn it like this. It is taking the strings and making them wider here than the width of the nut slots. This one is better, but this one is crazy wider. Of course they're going to go, so it doesn't really matter. What matters now is the nut. So now that I've got that, boom, 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 I like it. I'm pretty sure this is probably Indian laurel. It has that look and feel, and I think it's going to come really black once I get the cleaning and the lemon oil on it. Okay, so here we go again. Now it's the nut. I'm pretty sure since it's narrower than the slot by a tiny bit, that there's going to be CA glue in there to hold it. They needed it to seat very quickly. Let's just see. That's too close to tools. Let's just see. And you're going to come in a little bit closer like that. We have the persuader on the board, and we have our assistant persuader right here. So I'm just going to give it a tap. See if it loosens anything. Gotta be careful. Now this is not so bad. There's quite a thick part of the fingerboard on the north side of this nut, but sometimes it's very, very slim, and if you hit that too hard in that direction, you can break that part off. So yeah, pay attention. Is it loosening, or is it going to give me a lot of trouble? I think it's going to give me a lot of trouble. Let me try the end shock. Because that is hugely high. Hugely high. Let's see. Let me have a different piece of persuasion. Sometimes it's really easy. Comes off like nothing. But it doesn't want to do it this time. Okay. I will pause you while I persuade it some more. And there it is. Just like I warned you, I went and did it. It was really CA glued, and it took that whole part off the north end of the fretboard. So that is problematic. And I'm going to have to consult with myself as to what I'm going to do about it. See you in a bit. Alright, so I was able to persuade that sliver of wood, well, it's not actually wood, it's an engineered wood, it's not rosewood, to come off of this nut. And tiny little bit of white is left on there, but that's okay. I gotta be careful not to break that. Right, Ted? Let's not break that. Now remember, you had this problem, Ted. I'm going to see if I can resolve it without changing the neck. Put these tools out of my way. Wood glue or CA glue? You know what? I'm going to go with the wood glue. it's going to be a little bit more forgiving, and it's going to give me more time. I got to get a clamp. Okay, have the right tools. I got a little paintbrush. I've got eyes. I've got Elmer's Carpenter wood glue. And I have both of these pieces. Let's see, can you get that in there? Yeah. Okay, so that's going to give me more time, because I'm afraid that if I use the CA glue, it's going to go shoop, and it's going to stick too fast. I'd rather wait until overnight for this to set. Alright, it's going to stay like that until tomorrow, when I shall return and we shall continue. Okay, it's morning. Let's see what this has turned out to be. Okay, that's pretty good. I think it moved in a tiny little bit that way, which is probably going to make it snug for the nuts. So this was the only one that I think is tall enough. And yes, it does fit the width of the slot. Now it's a little bit too narrow because I got that little piece a little bit too much in, but you know, I can handle that with a file. Okay. Now I got to be careful because I know this is brittle. So this is what I'm going to be doing until I get it exactly right, and it's going to take some time. And then I'll be back. Okay. I have reached the nut installed. And how did I do that? Well, once I got the slot opened enough, and I also took a little bit off the sides of the nut to smooth it off, then I put the strings back on, and I realized that it was still quite high, so I decided I'd take some off the bottom, which I did, and then I had a problem where it was rocking in the slot, and I tried to go into the middle and take out some of the material to try to level it, but it wouldn't. Now this was good, and I didn't want to screw it up because it's the only one I've got that will work. I tried these other ones, and they're way too short to fit in there. Alright, so I cleaned this one all the way up. Now, what I had to do is I went with some UV resin, and I'm going to see if I can show you that. And I put a little UV resin on both sides of the slide. See the shiny part? Yeah. I just use that as side shims to level it up with the center. And now the nut sits nice and flat in the slot. Oh, backwards. So now that that sits nice and flat, the only thing I have to do now is finish adjusting the slot heights. Truss rod is been beefed up, less relief, flat, and I've got the action down at this end pretty good. So now it's a balancing act between these two ends of getting the slots cut down and the action with the saddles in the right place. And then I should be able to take off the neck and do the rest of the work. There are unlevel frets. I did a quick check with my rockers, and there's a bunch of them. So I also kept a tiny little bit of powder to help me fill in some of the gap here. And I'm going to put some CA glue in there, and then I'll put that in, and I'll put some CA glue on it, and then I'll sand it off and make it as nice as I can. Since it broke away, it's fixed. It'll work forever now, but it just doesn't look as good. And then once I get the neck off to do this work, we're going to go to the body, remove some of the hardware, and go with it from there. So this is going to be the end of part 2, and I'll finish this work up, and then we'll move into the fret leveling and the body work, electrics, and all the other stuff that needs to be done in part 3. See you then.